everybody, and welcome to James's House of Rock. Today's topic, Matt Skiba. Now, this will be covering Matt Skiba as a whole, mainly because I did all the side projects of the other Blink members. Well, Matt Skiba is now technically a member of Blink-182. He deserves his own episode about all his side projects. Let's get started. Matt Skiba was born February 24th, 1976, and is now 39. He was born in Chicago and moved to McHenry at a young age. He plays piano, drums, and guitar, and is now a full-time member of Blink, as many know at this point. His main band, Alkaline Trio, was formed in 1996 in McHenry, Illinois. Current members Matt Skiba on vocals and guitar, Dan Andriano on vocals and bass, Derek Grant on drums. Former members Rob Doran on bass, and Glenn Porter on drums, and Mike Falumley on drums. Now, why does it seem like the drums and the bass are the only members that ever leave the band? I mean, it is definitely possible for the singer to leave the band, but it's very unlikely. They released the song Sundials, and it was the only recorded material with Rob Doran. Their first EP, For Your Lungs Only, was released May 26, 1998. Was produced by Matt Shockley and Alkaline Trio through Asian Man Records. Only the song Southern Rock off the EP was re-released on the next album, God Damn It. And this whole EP was released on the compilation album simply titled Alkaline Trio, which we'll get to later. Their first album, God Damn It, was released October 13th, 1998 through Asian Man Records and was produced by Matt Allison and Alkaline Trio. Since it was an independent album at that point, there wasn't much history on it. Their next EP, I Lied My Face Off, was released July 20th, 1999 through Asian Man Records. It was produced by Matt Allison and Alkaline Trio, and it had their first music video for Goodbye Forever. One of the EPs, it was also one of the EPs included in the Alkaline Trio compilation. Their next album, Maybe I'll Catch Fire, was released March 14th, 2000 through Asian Man Records, produced by Matt Allison and Alkaline Trio, and was the last release with the drummer Glenn Porter. Again, this was an independent album, so there wasn't any singles or charting positions at the time. The compilation Alkaline Trio, as mentioned before, was released April 18th, 2000 through Asian Man Records and was produced by Matt Allison and Alkaline Trio. It includes the Sundial single from before they released anything, For Your Lungs Only EP, I Lied My Face Off EP, and other B-sides from the two albums before. This was the last release with Asian Man Records. Their first big release was From Here to Infirmary. Was released April 3rd, 2001, produced by Matt Allison and Alkaline Trio through Vagrant Records. It was number 199 on Billboards, and singles Private Eye and Stupid Kid. There are videos for both the singles. And it was the only album with drummer Mike Falumley. That is a weird last name. Drummer Adam Willard, which you may know from my episode on Angels and Airwaves, filled in on this tour for the video for Private Eye because of Mike's departure from the band. Their next release, Alkaline Trio and Hot Water Music EP, was a split EP of Alkaline Trio and Hot Water Music and was released January 22nd, 2002 through Jade Tree Records. It contained new music from both bands, as well as covers of each other's music, such as Alkaline Trio would cover a Hot Water Music song and vice versa. It was the first release with Derek Grant on drums, and all the original material was re-released later on the compilation Remains, which we'll get to later. The next album, which I absolutely love, is Good Morning. And that is morning as in the sadness, not the time of day. And it was released May 13th, 2003 through Vagrant Records, produced by Joe McGrath and Jerry Finn, one of my absolute favorite producers. Singles We've Had Enough and All on Black There's a video for We've Had Enough, and it was number 20 on Billboards. There was another split EP, the BYO Split Series, Volume 5. It was released April 20th, 2004 through BYO Records. It was a split album between Alkaline Trio and One Man Army, and it was all new material from both bands. Their next release, Crimson, which I have over here, was released May 23rd, 2005 through Vagrant Records and was produced by Jerry Finn. There's his name again. Singles Time to Waste, Mercy Me, and Burn. There are videos for all the singles. And the deluxe edition not only included the original, but a second disc with acoustic and demos of the original songs. I'd like to check that out. I only have the regular version. The next compilation, Remains, was released January 30th, 2007 through Vagrant Records and was produced by Matt Allison, Alkaline Trio, and Jerry Finn. It was number 64 on Billboards. It was a compilation album containing all the songs released on the EPs, B-sides, and other compilation songs. It also contained all of the music videos released up until now. So if you're interested in all the ones I've just said so far, Remains would be the place to start. The next release, Scrapped Companion, was released with Remains, but a bit more interesting. There was video released for one of the songs, Warbrain. On Valentine's Day 2007, the band posted a bulletin on their MySpace, giving a downloadable template and cipher. When printed and aligned correctly with a booklet in the Remains album, the template gave a username and password. When the cipher was deciphered, it gave a web address to go to. This website contained a downloadable album and cover file. The cipher and template accessible to Blood Pact members was different from those of the general public. Now that is such a creative way of doing it. That's a lot of effort, but if you were a big enough Alkaline Trio fan, like I probably would have if I was a fan back then, you'd definitely do this. It contained acoustics and demos and remixes of all the songs on Remains. So their next album, Agony and Irony, was released July 1st, 2008. It was the first album with Epic Records, and it was produced by Josh Abraham. This was not produced by Jerry Finn because this would have been after he passed away, sadly. Singles Help Me and Love Love Kiss Kiss. There's a video for Help Me. And this, since I couldn't find a charting position, had relatively good reviews and was met well. The next album, The Addiction, was released February 23rd, 2010, released with their newly formed Heart and Skull Records, as well as Epitaph Records, and it was produced by Matt Allison and Alkaline Trio. Singles for The Addiction. And there is a video for The Addiction as well. It was number 11 on Billboards, which is definitely an improvement from their past albums. Their next album, Damnesia, was released July 12th, 2011 through Heart and Skull and Epitaph Records. It was produced by Cameron Webb, which I've seen on many albums recently. There's a video for the song Clavicle, though there are no singles to the album. Compilation of acoustic versions of fan favorites and 2 new songs from the band. So they've released a lot of compilations and demos and remixes and acoustics of their songs, so there are many, many versions of each song if you're interested or love one certain song. Their next release was Broken Wing EP. It was released April 2nd, 2013 through Heart and Skull and Epitaph Records. Produced by Bill Stevenson and Jason Livermore. You may recognize them from the last episode. They're the producers of most of the Rise Against albums. It included the songs that they thought didn't quite fit into the next album that I'm going to cover now. My Shame Is True, released April 2nd, 2013 through Heart and Skull and Epitaph Records. Produced by Bill Stevenson and Jason Livermore. Singles I Want to Be a Warhol, Videos for I Want to Be a Warhol, as well as I Pessimist and The Temptation of St. Anthony, one of my favorite songs on this album. It was number 24 on Billboards and was released as a love letter to Matt's ex. It worked, and they got back together after this album was released. The deluxe edition also comes with the Broken Wing EP, which was the songs that didn't fit on this album. I meant to mention, too, that the reason it's Heart and Skull Records is because the Alkaline Trio symbol is a heart with a skull in it. And I will insert a picture here for those that don't get the straightforward of that. His other band, Heavens, was formed in 2004. Members Matt Skiba and Josiah Steinbrück. That's a hard name. Their first album, Patent Pending, was released September 12th, 2006 through Epitaph Records and was produced by Ben Lovett and the Heavens. I have the Heavens right here. I have yet to listen to the whole album, but what I have heard from it so far was actually pretty good. His companion project to this was The Hell, which aptly named for the Heavens and the Hell. Members Matt Skiba and Adam Willard, and there is not much else listed for the history of the band, seeing as it was a very short-lived and two-member band. Their first album, or EP, shall I say, Sovles Requins EP, was released January 13th, 2013, and only contained 4 songs. And then their next EP, Southern Medicine, was released October 8th, 2013, and also contained 4 more original songs. Now, at this point, I would just kind of combine the two and record some new material and release one album, instead of them both just being on iTunes. And I meant to mention, too, if I met Adam Willard, I think the first question I would ask him is, which Blink-182 singer is easier to work with? Seeing as he's worked with Matt Skiba on both Alkaline Trio and The Hell, and he's worked with Tom DeLonge in Angels and Airwaves for the first We Don't Need to Whisper album. Then there's Matt Skiba and the Secrets. It's really just Matt Skiba, with the Secrets being his backup band. It consists of Matt Skiba on vocals, guitars, and keys, Hunter Bergen on bass, Jared Alexander on drums. Their first release, Babylon, was released May 8th, 2012. There's a single, Voices, and it was released through Superball Music, which is a German independent record label that Matt Skiba is probably the biggest band that they have on their roster. Their next release, which I have right here, is Cuts. It was released June 1st, 2015, produced by Rob Shaft through Superball Music. Singles Crazy and She-Wolf. And this album is actually put in the wrong order. Like the way that they put and arrange the files on the disc is in the wrong order. It could have just been printed on the back wrong, but I looked it up on his official website, and that what is on the back of the album is officially the track listing for the album. But if you look up the lyrics, they don't match with the certain ones on the songs, and it actually took me a few times to listen to realize this. I actually found Matt Skiba through Mark Hoppus, because he was doing his Hi, My Name is Mark podcast, and he mentioned that he was working with Matt Skiba on the new Blink thing and played the single She-Wolf on Cuts here on the podcast, and I fell in love with that song. So when the album came out, I went out and bought it, and then tried to collect some of his other bands because I really like Matt Skiba's voice. But the only thing I have to say is that everything he does sounds very, very similar, if not the same. Like Alkaline Trio, Heavens, and Matt Skiba and the Secrets sound very, very similar. And I think it's all just because his voice can't change much from... It's kind of the same with Chris Cornell. Everything he does sounds very, very, very similar. So, some new CDs coming out. There aren't much because although this isn't going to air for a few weeks, this was recorded a week after the last episode. Motorhead, Bad Magic, Pop Evil, Up, and Ghost. Meloria. I've actually just found out about Ghost, and they're a kind of a line between rock and a bit of metal, and they all dress up in like skeleton costumes, and they call themselves Faceless Ghosts. They're one of those bands that don't like to tell people who they are, and the main guy is dressed as like a skeleton priest. And they used to actually be called Ghost BC, if you're familiar with them. But when they entered the U.S., since they are an international band, due to legal troubles, they had to get rid of the BC and are now just going by Ghost. Some concerts coming around the area. 21 Pilots at the Blue Hills Bank Pavilion, September 12th. I think I mentioned this last episode. Motorhead, the Dome at Toyota presents the Oakdale Theater. That's a mouthful of a venue. In Connecticut, September 15th. Ace Frehley at the Wilbur Theater, September 22nd. Of Monsters and Men, Mohegan Sun, September 26th. 3 Days Grace at Hampton Beach Casino Ballroom, September 26th. I really wanted to see them, but I'm not sure I want to see them with the new singer. I would have liked to have seen them with Adam Gontier instead of Matt Perkins, but because I didn't really quite like Human as much. Like the singles were pretty good, but the rest of the album just didn't meet up to my expectations with 3 Days Grace. And then Ghost, if you're interested, at the House of Blues, September 28th. So I wanted to introduce a new segment to this show called Album of the Episode. And this album, the album for this episode is Good Morning Revival by Good Charlotte. Now, I just recently fell in love with this band. I had heard from like many accounts that I followed that Good Charlotte was a very good band if you're interested in like Blink-182 and such. And so when I saw one of their albums for kind of cheap, I got it, and that just happened to be Good Morning Revival, and I just fell in love with it. So it was released in 2007, and some of the good songs are Dance Floor Anthem, which you may know and just not know that it's called that. That was the same case with me. Misery, and Keep Your Hands Off My Girl, which is a definitely weird departure because it doesn't sound anything like the rest of the album, but it's still a really good song. And it sounds like, which is why I included it in this episode, it sounds like a mix of both Alkaline Trio and Sum 41. Like, they have some songs that sound a lot like Matt Skiba and Alkaline Trio, and then some sound like they're influenced by Sum 41. So if you're interested in Good Charlotte, they've had many albums over the years, and Good Morning Revival just happens to be the one I reviewed on this, but I will include more on my website. And I hope to see you all soon. That is it for this episode of James's House of Rock.